It should never come as a surprise that when a movie comes out or a TV show or anything like that, with any sort of hint of ideological nonsense casting and the movie or TV show performs poorly, you are going to get article after article after article like this one from Variety. And they're calling out China. China box office. Fast X wins second weekend while The Little Mermaid flop sparks debate on racism, casting, and political correctness. Now, this article goes and talks about Fast X. Predictably won the second weekend on the top mainland China box office, driving its total to $100 million mark. But the disappointing start for Disney's live-action Little Mermaid was the bigger talking point. Now, why would that be a bigger talking point? Why wouldn't the Chinese moviegoers want to go see this movie? I have some unfortunate news for you. They have opinions over there, and there's nothing the Western audiences or shill media can do about it. But let's go down and check this out. Little Mermaid, Disney's live-action revision of the classic animation, was only the second best performing new release of the weekend. I thought that would be pretty good. You're second best, but I guess if you're not first, you're last. Discussion of The Little Mermaid, in which actor and singer Halle Bailey portrays the title role, again raised the question about how willing Chinese audiences are to watch films with prominent black characters. This has previously been debated around the Black Panther titles and Star Wars promotional materials. I thought those movies did pretty well over in China. Call me crazy. Here's an idea. Stop relying on the Chinese market because you're only getting 25% of the box office at best. Stop trying to cater to audiences around the world and start making movies for the people who buy the tickets the most. Make them for domestic, or at least stop catering to Chinese ethno-state ideologies. Midweek, the Global Times, what? Is that one thing, Midweek, the Global Times, or is it the Global Times? A state-controlled tabloid paper lashed out at Disney, oh, this is good, and accused it of lowering the film's potential in China by casting a black actor in the role. Oh, forbid, heaven forbid, they came out and said the words out loud. Quote, many Chinese netizens said that, like Snow White, the image of a mermaid princess in Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tales, had long been rooted in their hearts, and it takes a leap of imagination to accept the new cast. Those filthy bigots. The same editorial accused Disney of, quote, political correctness, and of course Variety gets their dig in here, an argument similar to the woke accusations made by political right wing in the U.S., because you just can't help it. It's not just the right wing. It's not just the conservatives that are calling this bullshit out. More and more people on both sides of the fence are waking up to the nonsense. Stop acting like it's otherwise. And said that the film would likely not perform well in the East Asian markets because they're an ethno-state. It doubled down by saying the controversy surrounding Disney's forced inclusion of minorities in classic films, it's not about racism. It's lazy and irresponsible storytelling strategy. People like me, all over the interwebs, all over social media, have been saying this over and over again. It's lazy storytelling. Taking a classic, long, decades-old story and putting in your diversity and inclusion ideology is lazy. Absolutely lazy and irresponsible because you're taking the original story and twisting it to suit your own needs. Make something new. Stay the course. If the first thing you put out doesn't land well, just keep going. Don't give up. Learn from whatever people are talking about. Make a good story. Who cares what the characters are? Because ultimately, if it's a good story, the fans, the people who go to pay money want to give you money for entertainment, are not going to care who they go to bed with, who that character goes to bed with, as long as it's a good story. The article continues. A day later, after online discussion of how Chinese posters for the film had seemingly turned the mermaid's skin color blue, there were multiple posters that showed Halle Bailey. My goodness. There were multiple posters for the Chinese audience that showed Halle Bailey as who she was. They didn't doctor them. They didn't change them. So picking out that one little poster is just, it's nothing more than confirmation bias. Don't do that. Global Times op-ed went further. It used discussion of the film to launch wide-ranging criticism of Hollywood and Western colonialism. Ugh. It also stretched the debate to promote China's anti-COVID policies and even its building of power generation plants in Africa. Okay, quote, a number of netizens in Western countries on Twitter have attacked Chinese audiences because they care. You think anyone in China gives a rat's ass about what the Western thinks? Give me a break. Alleging that poor box office numbers are due to racial discrimination. They probably are, but I think it's more inclined to believe that it's due to they're tired of the nonsense. They're tired of the ideological bullshit. This is to impose their politically correct standards on Chinese audiences and use this to sow discord between China and African groups. Okay, that might actually be a stretch. It said, quote, China has always maintained brotherly relations with Africa. This sounds like propaganda too. And has never needed an atonement mentality prevalent in Hollywood. This is possibly true, but also possibly just more propaganda bullshit coming from the Chinese ethno state. Disney was particularly a difficult line to tread in China. It operates theme parks in Shanghai and Hong Kong, yada, yada, yada. Civil War attitude, yada, yada, yada. So Chinese publications calling out Disney and Hollywood for their ideological bullshit is hilarious at best. It is probably close to that word I can't even think of. Ironic. There we go. My brain worked. Yay! But do you think the Chinese box office is going to affect it? I don't understand why they continuously promote. It made this much money. It made $100 million in China. It made $200 million in China. You only get 25%. You use those numbers to make yourself look good when you're only barely getting a quarter of the box office revenue. So, stop catering to China. Stop catering to other ideologies. Just make a good movie. Make a good story. When can we get that back, please, Variety? Can you start talking about that? Well-written stories, well-written characters. Maybe something new. That would be great. Stop debasing classic stories to suit your own needs. But let me know what you think in the comments. Leave a like, leave a dislike. Do all that nifty stuff YouTubers love. And I'll see you on the next one.